Welcome back, everybody. I am speaking with somebody who I've been watching on screen just yesterday and the day before because she's on one of my favorite shows, which is on Cinemax. The show is Warrior, where she's playing Vega, I think the Rosalita Vega. If you're a fan of Warrior, you know what I'm talking about. It's an amazing show. If you're a fan of Bruce Lee or martial arts, you have to be watching it. If you're not, then you need to find it. Me personally, I subscribe to Cinemax just so I can watch the show.
That's
So
right.
that's how much I like it. Please
Mm.
welcome to the program the wonderful actress who plays Miss Vega, Maria-Elena Laas.
Thank you. Excellent.
Oh, my pleasure, and thank you so much for making the time. I know you're very busy. Lots of things are happening right now, so I appreciate you finding a moment.
Good.
All right, so let's talk Warrior, and then we'll get to other things like Vida and a few other projects that I've seen you on. But Warrior is definitely in my mind. As a matter of fact, yesterday, election day, we may have this out today, we may have this out tomorrow, but yesterday was election day, and in order to keep my sanity, I decided not to watch TV until much later. So I was sitting in front of the television watching Warrior. And kind of getting my drama there because there's plenty of drama.
Plenty of drama, exactly.
So it's season 2. You were not a part of season 1, and you got on in season 2. So before we get into the crux of it, how did that project come about for you?
It came about, I'll tell you, it's 2 years ago now, November. And it's something that came in through my agency.
Yep.
And my manager. And I saw it, and the first thing I thought was, how am I, because I'm quite small, how am I going to pull off looking like a woman who runs a fight pit where men fight to the death, And so I was like, okay, I'm up for this challenge. And so it was the whole process of it was actually really nice. It was just one audition, and then I had a Skype session with Jonathan Tropper, who's the creator of the show and the executive producer and the writer. And we had a really short Skype meeting. All he wanted to know, literally, at the end, he said, I just want to see if you were an asshole. Like, okay, just because everybody's going to be stuck together for 5 months in Cape Town. I'm like, awesome, I'm good to go. And I, packed up my stuff in LA. I moved everything to storage because I had this fantasy that I was, going to be in Cape Town for a long time and then do some traveling and this and that. And got to Cape Town in January.
Wow.
2019. Yeah.
That's very cool. So that's great. I didn't even know that they shot in Cape Town. That's news.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's actually really, the thing is that the money, it's just a dollar stretch and so much more in Cape Town. So and these sets are huge, and they built everything, and there are hundreds of extras too that they use, and it would just cost way too much money to do that in the US.
Yeah.
Same with the actors. Most of the actors are coming from Canada or from England. Yep. And so same thing with the roles with their union. It's just easier for production and cheaper, really, at the end of the day, to shoot overseas.
The sets are amazing. Cinematography is
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
Oh yeah, I was saying it's top notch. And we had, normally you'll have A unit and B unit or second unit, and second unit will sort of grab some aerial shots or just like little inserts. But in this case, they were very busy. Not only was there first unit, second unit, and they were filming everything, but the third unit was Stunt, the fight unit. And I mean, I'm talking about, it was just, we're filming all the time. There's a lot going on. I know you see it on screen, but also filming it was very large and very busy and very exciting too.
Yeah, and a lot of it, or it seems like a lot of the action and the shots are in the dark. So I don't know if you were shooting at night or it was just a lot of really good lighting work, but the cinematography of it, the energy of it, and kind of the dark gritty nature of it, it's also really really impressive how they created kind of this feeling, and it's a character on its own.
It's true. You know, for the most part, it is kind of shot not at night because we would have mostly day shoots, but
Mhm.
indoors.
Yeah.
And for example, the belly of the boat where the fight pit's located, they took an old hall like that they had, and because they've also shot at the studios, Vikings. They also shot. Oh, I'm forgetting the name of. Wow, it's on Stars. Outlander.
Oh,
Outlander, and
wow.
one more Viking show they shot there. So you know, so they had these old, they still had the boats there and everything. So they used one and then built it all up and just covered it with this really thick black tarp. So we were filming during the day, but it was really dark inside.
Very, very cool. Yeah, and in some of the shows, and right now the shows are much better in it, but in some of the shows, the martial art quality is not high enough. In this show, it's really,
Oh,
really
well, that was really exciting. So all of us, for the almost the entire cast, we would work out every morning, and we would work out with the stunt guys,
yeah.
and they really, just put it up a notch in this season. But they brought some of the best fighters and the best trainers from around the world. We had for Canada's Taekwondo team, the Olympic coach. We had a couple guys that are on the world demonstration team for Taekwondo.
Mhm.
We have, as you know, Mike Bisping, who's a UFC fighter. We had incredible guys in Muay Thai, in Jiu Jitsu. A whole stunt team came in, and I mean, really from everywhere, from China, from Thailand, it was just, it was insane. It was really amazing to watch these guys. We would work out with them every day, and then we do the regular workout, which lasted a good hour and a half. It was not easy. And then after that, we would go into specific training. And so they would spend time with us, and they're like, okay, now these are how you do, tumbles, and this is, these are high kicks, and these are, and so it was like being at a camp, at a training camp. And for me, it was kind of funny because I was learning all of this, and I was super excited to be working on these high kicks and these shoulder rolls and everything. And then at the end, it turns out my thing is guns. So, so when the time came, I didn't have that much time to play around with the guns, but I still got to do a few stunts. So I'm
Yeah,
happy to, yeah.
and they do a good job. It's not just hand-to-hand stuff because it's
Oh
different
no,
hand-to-hand things. But Yan Jun, the character of Yan Jun, he's all about knives, right? So in your
definitely.
case, your guns. So it makes
We're done.
perfect sense.
Yeah, and everybody had sort of the weapon of choice, whether it's fists or whatever. And a lot of the actors are doing their own stunts, and then the stunt guys are so hardcore. They do not mind injuring themselves. Do you know? I mean, they're out there. They're really, really, really taking it further than you can imagine. And our stunt coordinator, Brett Chan, who is phenomenal. I mean, he handpicked these guys from all over the world, brought them together. There's a lot of them,
Yeah.
and just worked them every day and went through every fight sequence over and over again. They had it perfectly choreographed, and it's also really exciting as Vega, as a character. Vega, she's very used to seeing people hurt themselves or fight to death,
Yeah.
and as me, I'm not. So I was very lucky that whenever they would do sort of my angles or my reaction shots, the fight unit wasn't actually fighting.
Okay.
So I'm cool as a cucumber, right?
Yeah.
But then when I would watch the fight unit do their thing, or I'd see Andrew, because I mean Andrew too, he is hardcore. He's actually very inspiring in general to watch and to work with, and watching them, my face can't lie. It's like so.
And he got into, I mean, he was in pretty good shape on season one. Season two, he's ripped. He got
Ripped.
into a much better shape in season two. I was
Yeah,
really
well,
impressed.
season two, which I didn't know because I wasn't on season one, they actually brought a chef in for the actors. And
Okay.
so she was amazing, and she had a board of what everybody, you know, their different dietary concerns and how many calories and what they need to work on. And so when at the end of the workout, they come to us with these protein shakes, which was different for everybody, and our lunch boxes. And of course, it would sort of depend on who you are and what you're working on. And so that was very, very helpful for all the actors.
Where do I sign up for this camp? It
I know.
sounds amazing. I want to do this myself.
I know. It in that way it really was a dream job. Everybody was living and breathing the fight and also the spirit of Bruce Lee. Like all over the offices everywhere there are posters with his quotes and so we're just always reminded that the spirit behind it and why we're all here and what we're here to do and the stories to tell. So
Was Shannon on set at all?
Shannon came, yeah, she came just for I think it was about a week, and but she was so involved in general, and she would be on Zoom also when we had table reads and everything, and she did come, and it was really nice to see how proud she was of it and how excited she was. I think there was a little bit of that of that you know, not fear, but just sort of like, oh, I hope we're doing justice to this, and I hope that she's going to be, you know, she's really happy. But she was great. She
No,
really loved it. Yeah.
I, I again, as an actor observing, right? So I always watch actors and I want to see, not only is this character believable, but kind of picking up on things that I can utilize later. Honestly, I cannot think of one actor that I watched where I didn't think they're doing an incredible job just as an actor. I kind of pause and I sit there thinking, okay, I see kind of what I think they may have done, but it's really, really, really solid acting job aside from the fighting and everything else that they have to go through. So I've been blown away with the cast.
Well, you know, they also cast a wide net because
Yeah.
it's an international production. Then you've got Hoon and Perry. They're coming from the States, but you had Dean and Kieran and Tom coming from England and Joanna, and it tells you even more what great actors they are because almost everyone's doing an accent,
Yeah.
and you would never, Celine also from the UK, and then Diane and Olivia, they came in from Vancouver. So they cast a wide net to make sure that they had the right people that for the roles, and you can tell.
Yeah, and again, I was blown away. Well, I didn't know, the great Southern accent and a Southern gentleman policeman is really a guy from UK.
Yes.
It's really really good.
And Kieran, who's from England but doing an Irish accent, Joanna's doing an American accent, and Celine's doing an American. Almost everybody.
Yeah, Dean maybe, I'm crossing my fingers. Dean may be coming out to the show as
Oh,
well. I'm blown away. It's like, certain people, they have that look in their eyes, and there's that energy where you don't even have to show me that you know how to fight. I'm just going to say thank you, and I'm going to go.
exactly.
I don't know what Dean is like in real life, but as that character, that's the person that I would not want to do anything
Right.
aside from just say thank you and run.
Exactly. Well, Dean is not that intense, which is good in real life. He's just like Kieran, a teddy bear, really, just really soft, loving, and but yes, he most of the actors was working out and
Yeah.
every day and really pushing it to the limit and really jumping into the character very much so.
So as Vega, because again, I'm on. I just finished season 2. Obviously, I've just finished the first 4 episodes. So I am not caught up. There's the episode 5. There's episode 6. So, but as Vega, kind of stepping into this world and being a brand new character, so you don't really get to understand the backstory of Vega until probably later in the season.
Yeah, exactly.
But what was it like to kind of just step in because it's an established cast. There are some new characters that they brought in, but most were same, with the exception of the younger sister, who's a pivotal character. Some new guys that came in from China to support Hopway. But overall, it's the same cast. So was it easy because they were welcoming, or was it okay? You have to kind of find your way into it.
Well, it was a couple things. One, it was very easy because the actors themselves are very friendly, open, loving, welcoming people, and we were together all the time. So not only are we, working together, but we're going out at night together and we're doing everything. So in that sense, it was a very, again, what our big boss said, it's a no asshole policy. So it was one of those productions where there literally was not one difficult person. And it's interesting, as a side note, as an actor, a lot of times people ask you, how was it to work on this and that, and they really want to and expect to hear that everything was fun and easy, and where the truth of the matter is that there are always a couple of like the rotten apples, and there's always there can be some tension sometimes when a director comes in just for one episode and is not familiar with everybody and tries to change things a lot. And the actor has to talk to the director and be like, wait, hold on, you're not seeing the bigger picture. This is what I'm doing, this is what I've done. And things definitely go on behind the scenes that a lot of actors don't want to talk about. And I think it's fear of not working again, fear of burning bridges. And unfortunately, what happens is that, you do have some people that are difficult to work with and lack of better word, bullies. And it just takes many productions and many crew members and actors and before their reputation, before people are just little murmurings, before people really know how they are and how it is. So nobody wants to be the whistleblower in that case. And that's just an aside because that's what I've experienced in other productions. But this actual production was one of those where it was absolutely welcoming and warm and loving and smooth and fun, and that's all because of Jonathan. Jonathan is a great judge of character, and he handpicked everybody, and he was so hands-on, and it's worth its weight in gold, especially when you are together in just like an enclosed space for so many months and in a foreign country. It was, my hat's off to him. I think that guy is brilliant. He's a genius in many ways, and that's just one of the ways.
Okay, and it's great to hear. I hesitate to ask the questions of how was this? Was this person meant to work with? Because these are silly questions, but me being the fan of the show, there is that yearning to know that I respect these guys on screen. I'm hoping it was a great environment off screen. I'm very happy to hear there was.
Yes, literally not one single person where you'd be disappointed by.
Very nice. Now, as an actress, was there, I guess, without giving anything away, and spoilers ahead for people who
exactly.
Was there anything as an actress that you found that it kind of caught you by surprise, that you weren't necessarily ready for, that you had to adjust quickly on the fly?
Well, there were a couple things. One of them is I hadn't realized it. So Vega, she introduces sort of a whole new world, which is a Barbary Coast, right? And it's still a mystery of who Vega is at this point. And the first Latina on the show, and it's a feeling sort of the weight of a few things. And the way that I had approached the character was actually a little different than when time came to film. And I thought she was going to be more sort of masculine or more tomboy, I guess you could say. And when I got there, it was sort of all the opposite. There was hair extensions and all this jewelry, and it was very like sexy. And so I felt like I had to just kind of quickly adjust to that, because the way that they had present her visually, what they were doing, you know, costume and makeup and everything was quite different than what I thought it was going to be. So I was like, okay, got to bring in, you know, the sexuality and sort of the flirting and the fun to it, and which I actually love to do. So that was a nice surprise.
Mhm. So that raises a question, right? Because in an audition, um, did you approach the audition as this more tomboyish version? And you obviously got hired for the part. So did anybody ever tell you, "Hey, we love what you did, but we're going to be doing a little different"?
Well, yes, but also it was, I think the essence of Vega was there. It was just in the visual.
Okay.
Visually, she looks so different. You know, I thought it was gonna be pants, no makeup, you know, just body moving kind of different.
Yeah.
That's what I was expecting. But the acting was the same. It was just, you know,
A little different circumstance. And
a little different. Yeah.
perfect. And then you've mentioned again being the first kind of Latina character on the show. Let's move away from the show and go into another show that you just recently did, which is Vida. Vida, I believe, is on Stars or was on Stars, correct?
Mhm.
Perfect. Tell me more about Vida because I have not watched it, but from what I've read, it sounds like a really interesting project that did a lot for the Latinx community.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it was only 2 years ago, or actually almost three years ago now. But at the time, it was the first of its kind. And unfortunately, it didn't have the platform that it deserved to have. So it didn't get the audience. It was loved within our industry, but as far as the general public, the numbers weren't that high. The viewership wasn't that high, unfortunately. But it was the first time that you had seen a Latina cast and as the main characters on a cable network, and also the first time that it was LGBTQ, and nudity, and I mean all these things. That it was the first, the first. So it was exciting to be a part of that, and just what kept echoing, what we kept hearing everywhere is, you know, people saying thank you, thank you, this is the first time we see ourselves on screen, thank you for telling our story. It's also done really well because it was very much about gentrification happening in East LA, and sort of the old world and new world, and just the, you know, difficult things that happen, situations that happen, you know, because of it, and animosity here and there. And the showrunner, she was, you know, she also was amazing at handpicking people from the actual part of town. So she had activists, poets, musicians. So she really brought the flavor of East LA. Like you really felt like you were there. So there were parts of that show that felt almost documentary-like, in how true they were to telling these stories. And yeah, of course, you know, it's fiction, but yeah, it was something. It was a big deal, and I think as a Latina too, we have how can I say this? So if you look at like telenovelas, soap operas in Spanish, or you look at, you know, shows in general, they're quite conservative in a way, I guess you could say. And it's very rare that there are, you know, movies or TV shows that show some nudity, and really, really sort of stretch that, and go out of bounds in certain ways. And so for us, we also have a certain beauty ideal, and it's still, you know, there's a lot of beauty queen, and this is how the body looks and everything. So because of the lack of nudity in the shows, and the lack of that in general, then it was interesting because there were all different types of bodies that were being shown on Vida. And people were also very vocal about it and saying, thank you, you know, thank you. As a Latina, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing this. I'm feeling represented on a larger scale than what I have seen before. And also in our culture, there's, there, because of the it's, conservative and religious, there's a lot of the shaming around it too, around doing the nudity. And so that's, so that was interesting, because you had some of the younger viewers that were watching it and really embracing it, and just sort of dumbstruck that this was happening on cable TV. And then you had older generations, and I know from other cast members and their parents and their grandparents watching it, that they had a real problem watching it. That made them very, very uncomfortable. It pushed a lot of buttons.
Did you experience any of that yourself?
I experienced a little bit. I experienced a little bit in my family in general are very, very accepting and open-minded. I know it was a little difficult for my grandmother, but I had this one situation where it went to a church, and at the end, where everybody is, say hi to the pastor, and you leave. And this pastor had known me, and the very first thing he said to me when he greeted me was, "Well, I hope you're not still playing that despicable character." I was like, "Whoa!" And I shot back really fast, but he didn't catch it. I shot back. I said, "Actually, no, but now I'm on a different show, and you're gonna love it because it's full of like violence and killing." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I just went from playing like this loving lesbian that he didn't like, but he's okay with all this violence and killing. So that was,
and drug.
people make comments, yeah. Yeah.
It's yeah.
Yeah, it just, things like that, you just have to laugh. It's just everybody projects their own, their own ideas, and I guess what they consider their morals and whatever. So it's, you got to learn how to, let that go.
There is a part of me that wonders how the priest would know about that show and about your despicable character.
Exactly, right? So he was watching it. Exactly. Thank you.
Moving on. As an actress, and again, I kind of, I looked at your career on the IMDb and the things that show up on IMDb, which as actors we know that not everything is shown on IMDb. So was Vida, when you were playing Cruz, was that your first role where you had to have nudity, or did you have that before?
Yeah, no, it was a first, and it's something that I never planned on doing, and honestly I never wanted to do. I'm just not. I do have girlfriends who are actresses that are. It's just in their nature. They are exhibitionists. They love to be naked. That's something that I never planned on. For me, that was actually very difficult, and it was like, okay, what is gonna, what matters more, that I get to play this character and jump into this world and experience this and be a voice, or I just say no and say, I'm uncomfortable and I'm not going to do that, and I step back. And so it was sort of a come to moment for myself. I had to really think about it hard, and also it does help that at the time I was going through a divorce, so there's also that sense of reinventing yourself. And so it's like, what, everything right now sucks and everything is so uncomfortable, so I mean, just bring it on. I'm going straight into the unknown, and I'm willing to do and try anything and see where my life goes. When you have nothing to lose, you just you're willing to do anything. So.
And did you find anything about, or find out rather, anything about yourself through this experience that is a positive takeaway, or as a growth that is, helped you move on in your career and life in general?
Definitely. I think it was in the getting over that shyness and seeing that it's really not a big deal at the end of the day. It's not, and again, having the feedback from people and saying thank you for doing that. And because it wasn't done in a regular salacious way at all. It was very, they were great in that they showed it more of how how it really happens, and a little more casual, and there was also men, and so it wasn't skewed only women and only this type of woman or this type of body. So again, it was I jumped in, and I wasn't the only one, and so there was camaraderie there in that, and in general sort of this like, yeah, I'm proud of myself. I faced some demons there. I tried something. I don't know if I'm going to do that again, but I'm happy I did for myself.
Yeah. Anytime kind of a fear comes up, overcoming that, I find I have not had to do any nude scenes. That certainly would be an area where I would have a lot of reservations. But anytime a fear comes up, right, going on stage, doing something that you've never done before, or a type of role that you've never tackled before, I find that as I cross that boundary, I really gain a whole new level of respect for myself and discover things that I didn't know that I could do. So usually, I find that that's a really positive and freeing experience, which allows me to kind of continue and grow and expand out as a person.
You know what? That's so greatly. The way that you put it is wonderful, because that is true. It's almost like you're stretching yourself, right? And so you're becoming more and more of the superhuman version of yourself, right? So it's like, wow, I could do that, so I can do this. I actually went there. I can do it again, and it helps. It helps not only when you're working, but also it helps with auditions. It helps with classes. It helps in general in life, because you do build this respect for yourself, and you do build this type of esteem and confidence that comes from accomplishing things, right? And so it's just what you said was so well put.
Thank you. Again, it's just like I remember being a kid and I was really scared of heights. Heights were not my friend. And then with a group of kids, I went, Camp Tamarack. We went to Israel for a month. And in Israel, we did all sorts of things. Went on camelback through the desert for a week, and then rappelling was one of the things that we did. And
Wow.
14-year-old trying to kind of find myself. This is right after I came from Ukraine. So you're still not speaking the language. I was dressing very oddly and not finding ways to fit in properly. And then you have this thing where all the kids are all in the same place. It's that camp environment. So repelling. Well, repelling, I had to go first. I had to prove it to
Wow.
everybody else, and I had to prove it to myself. And I remember, because this and they have two ropes, and the ropes can hold whatever 600 pounds each or more, but they're thin, and taking that first step, because to repel you have to step back and you have to lean back and you have to
Mhm.
hold on to the rope, and then you have to let go down and then grab the rope. Oh, that whole thing was not fun, but you do it. And after that I said, okay, I did it. Now I'm not afraid. So when other things like that came up, I went back to that experience, and you have to do it. You go first, and you know that you've done it before, so you can continue expanding. Does not mean that I'm going to go skydiving. Does not mean that I'm ready for bungee jumping, but it's that thing. Like, okay, I've broken out of one box. Now I feel freer in the next one.
Right, right.
And going through the IMDb and kind of your filmography, I saw a reference to a movie that I haven't seen for quite a while, but I definitely remember seeing it because I love Rob Schneider, and that's The Hot Chick.
The hot chick.
So you were in The Hot Chick. Now I need to rewatch it to catch you in it, because obviously I've seen you before. So which role were you playing? How did that experience?
Oh, that was awesome. That was the role is Bianca, and Bianca, she's basically his nemesis from the
Okay.
other school. So she's she's Jessica's nemesis, and of course he switches bodies with Jessica.
Yeah.
And so Bianca is just the bitchy, rude cheerleader, and who steals boyfriend away. And it was it was a very, very, very fun experience. That was, I mean, my gosh, that was so. We went to cheer camp for 2 months and learn how to cheerlead. Nobody knew how to do that.
Mhm.
And for me, it was what I would call probably the most stressful filming experience when it came to filming our actual cheer competition, because someone who had not done that before, and I'm not, acrobatic in that way. And when it came to filming, we filmed in this stadium in downtown LA. And we had, not only did we have a couple hundred extras, but we also had a few hundred cutout people. So they look like real people from afar, right? And then we had, and it was shot on film, and because it was a while ago, and shooting on film is very expensive, and there's a lot of more stress around that. Every minute, every second counts. And so they had 3 cameras going, and they had hired all of these cheerleaders that were actual real cheer teams from around the city, just to be on the same sort of a field as we were in, so you could see them warming up and doing things, so there's authenticity to it, right? So when we go to film it, I'm like, well, I am the cheer captain, so the head cheerleader, cheer captain for this team that has won state. And here I am, surrounded by real girls who are real cheerleaders in their high schools. And they're just, I'm sure, like, what is she doing? And I was like, I have to pull this off. And I have hundreds of eyes looking at me. Mm-hmm. So that was probably, and to do the flip and this and that was probably one of the most stressful things. And I didn't actually have a stunt double. They didn't give us any stunt doubles because they were very confident that we had done well at cheer camp. So yeah. it was scary. Yeah.
Well, maybe that prepared you for Warrior.
Totally. Even though that was a while ago. But that experience in general was so fun. I mean, it was silly fun, really. Rob is hilarious, and he was so hands-on with the project, and he was even jumping back and forth and helping with the directing and trying out different things during the takes. And it was, then he and I have a whole dance sequence. Mm-hmm. And really we could have learned it in 2 days, but we practiced for 2 weeks, and we would practice a short time and then go have lunch. And he was so awesome. And the experiences on that film were just, it was like a comedy of errors, just everything and how it all played out. And it was awesome. I wish I could a time machine and go back and experience all that over again.
Listen, get in touch with Adam Sandler. He's the epitome of doing things that are fun with his friends. Yes. And I love him for it, of working with the same group of guys, just enjoying making films. And that joy screams out when you're watching it. I truly, truly admire it. And I see Rob there all the time, plus Kevin and everybody else. So get in touch with Adam, and you'll be right back. You don't need a time machine for that. That's the same thing. Yeah. So what's the funniest thing that ever happened to you on set? It doesn't have to be, that particular one.
Oh, the funniest thing that ever happened to me on set. I mean, there were a couple times where my stomach just made really loud noise, and it just kind of stopped everything, and everyone kind of looked, and then just started busted out laughing. I mean, it wasn't a fart, so that's, at least. But I'm trying to think. I did have a scene with Rob where he headbutts me, and I wanted to make a point that I didn't need a stunt person for this. And I kind of knocked myself out. Like, I went full and I fell, and it was all very painful. But they got it in that shot, just want to prove to them, prove to myself I could do it. Yeah. Yep. I don't know. I think I'm one of those actors where, in general, I want to do a good job, and I don't. and I know that time is money, and so I feel really guilty if I mess up in any way. And you know, and I know that that's what makes it fun when you see those bloopers.
Yeah.
But I guess I was always afraid of being one of those bloopers. If that makes sense. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Well, it's also right, at what level you are as an actor,
Mhm.
where in your career, because if you're one of the leads, it's fun and you can do things. Yes, there's everybody depending on you, but the blooper reel is going to be better. If you're, co-star or a guest star, you're there to do a
You don't
job.
want to be
You're
in the
there to be
blooper
on
reel.
the blooper reel.
Yes.
Understood. Few more things. Diversity, right?
Mhm.
We talked about you being Latina. What have you seen in terms of the industry? Has it been getting better? I am hoping it has.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
what has your
it,
experience been?
you know what? It's real. It's hard because I I've been doing it for a long time, and I think that um, for me, my saving grace has been commercials, because commercials, they've always liked a variety and are ethnically, ambiguous,
Yeah.
which I've been able to play. But as far as like film and TV go, it's over the years they'll make these initiatives and they'll try and they'll have more, Latinos or Latinas in the breakdowns. And and then so we all get, excited, and so my auditions will go up for that, and be like, oh wow. And then you see the final product and you're like, oh, even though in the breakdown it said Latina, that's not what they did at the end of the day.
Mm.
And so I think it's really tricky because we're almost tricked into thinking that things are changing, and there's a lot more opportunity. And that's as actors, with the amount of auditions that we get now versus how it was 10, 15 years ago. But then on screen you're kind of seeing it the same. And they do have these reports where they see the statistics of Latinas and Latinos in lead roles and speaking roles, and that number, is very low. And I understand, because it's an industry in general that, once you get in, you like fight to stay in. So you've got writers, directors, executives, studio heads, and they like to work with people they know. They want to keep their jobs, and so it can be a little hard for them sometimes to open up to new people. And so in that way I understand that there's, they have their own agenda, just like in any industry. um, but at the same time, I- at the end of the day, these initiatives that the industry is trying to promote, through the Writers Guild, through the Directors Guild, through the Screen Actors Guild of diversity. All we're trying to do is get to a place where we are represented on screen as far as the population goes. That's it. Not asking to overtake it, but just to be equivalent to what the population actually is. And so that's still really low. There are only a few Latin skewed shows that are currently, on the air. And that's something that every year, the different organizations, the Latinos in Hollywood, they come together and they celebrate the wins. And there's still, it always, and it's unfortunate, but most of the conversation is, oh, it still sucks, we've got a long way to go, da, da, da. And then it always ends with, write your own stuff, generate and try to jump in there and do what you can, and we can all help each other out and we can all pull up. But Latinos in general are not as, they're not as tightly, the community is not as tightly knit as other communities, like the Asian American community or the Indian American community. And it's because Latinos come from so many different countries, and there are different accents and different mentalities. And so you're not representing necessarily just one group. And I mean, not that you're with Asian Americans either,
Yeah.
but there's just a lot more Latin American countries. And I think that's why it's not as cohesive as it could be and it should be. But with time, it'll get there. I'm just glad that this is happening this is happening now, because, you know, I always thought, I was always afraid of aging out, you know, and, you know, when I was in my 20s, just being told this is it, you know, this is your prime, and after this, you probably won't work again. And, you know, that sort of, and because I have been in Hollywood for such a long time, and believing that, and obviously not wanting that to be true, but believing it. So for me, it's really nice to see this wave coming in, and there are opportunities now that weren't there, you know, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So, you know, I can just keep praying that, you know, keep hoping to work, and we'll see.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. By the way, I keep forgetting to congratulate you. I hear you just got married, so please accept
Thank
our
you.
best wishes.
Thank you very much. I just got married a few days ago. I'm going on honeymoon tomorrow.
Oh, well, what a way to kick it off.
Exactly. Yeah, that's really nice. That was one of life's surprises, and it's pretty amazing. And also during COVID too, which is really odd, because we were having a long distance relationship before COVID, and I know everybody's had different experiences, you know, during this time, and it's been very difficult in many ways. I do feel very fortunate that because of, you know, because of COVID, I got to spend a lot more time with him, and it fast tracked our relationship. I know quite a few relationships that they fell apart, you know, just because there were problems there anyway, and they came up to the surface. But I was lucky in that this was a new relationship, and so it fast tracked things, and of course gave a perspective of what's important in life, and just go for it. Tomorrow's not guaranteed, and maybe throwing caution to the wind, you know. So
Understood. You said you're going on honeymoon. We don't need to know where, but how is all of the planning with everything shutting down again?
oh yeah, that has been. Well, I'm going to the Caribbean, and of course, you know, I had to take COVID test. Got it yesterday, so you have to show it's within 72 hours to go there. Even the wedding was really small. We decided to have a two-part wedding, just one part with just our parents and siblings, which was hard to not have my grandma there. So I'm gonna go see her now, and then, you know, we filmed it so that next year we can actually have the reception and show the video and invite everybody and have everybody there. So the COVID wedding was everybody got their COVID test before, so there were, you know, no worries. There was only 14 of us, so it was just very small, intimate, really nice, actually, really nice. Everyone got to, you know, stand up and say something, and which you don't usually get in the chaos of weddings, you know. So
It's true. You know, 21-year anniversary this month.
oh,
For
happy
my
anniversary!
wedding.
It's a long time.
Yeah, and I remember my wedding, but there are parts of my wedding that I don't remember at all because it was just chaos.
Of
So
course. Actually, I always tell my girlfriends, just this time I didn't need that advice because it was so small, but I always tell them when they're getting married, I said that the best advice I ever got is, at some point, usually I think it's fun, like when everyone's dancing, go away, you and your spouse, and you go and you set a timer for 10 minutes, and you're not allowed to speak. All you do is both of you just observe, just watch everything, and that way it's seared into your memory. Yeah.
yeah, it's a good idea. I wish I did that.
Right.
Yeah, fortunately we have a video that captured some things, so we
Okay.
go back to it from time to time now with the kids. So thank you so much, Marie. It's been a pleasure having you on. Have fantastic honeymoon. I hope everybody
Thank you.
enjoys it. Everybody stays safe, and I'll keep watching Warrior, and we'll see what.
Yes. Enjoy. You will see the adventure of Vega takes them on very soon, and
Yeah, I'm getting worried for Chow. I'm really getting worried for Chow as things are as things are.
Oh yes.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite characters. I'm a
There's a
little.
lot that's going to happen, and I am telling you, every episode there's a lot. It's going to go to places that wouldn't imagine, and I mean it's nonstop. There aren't any breaks.
Yeah, last thing, and I just remember yesterday because I was watching the episode 4, and it's the episode in which in which the
The factory,
huh?
the
Well,
factory.
yeah, the factory, but hang on. In which episode was the cop's family attacked and his son almost slayed? Was it?
Oh, that was third, I believe.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I watched 2
that's
episodes.
a hard thing to watch. Yeah.
And you just know that something terrible is about to happen. They do such a great job. Like they're not saying anything, but you just have this awful feeling that it's about,
Yes.
and you don't know what it is, and you don't know if one of them is about to get shot, and this is kind of the last scene saying goodbye. I'm like, oh God, I don't want to lose this character. I really like him,
Right.
and oh, oh, that took that show really takes people for a ride, and I prefer not to watch it before I go to sleep. So let's
Oh, yeah, I'm the same way. I'm the same way.
well, thank you again, and thanks to everybody for tuning in into another episode of The Love of Acting. I hope everybody is staying healthy. I know it's after election day. I have not done very well with sleeping.
But
My
we still don't, as of now, we still don't know the results. So everyone's still like
yeah.
this. Yeah.
So maybe by the time you're watching this, whether it's going to be tonight or tomorrow, we will know something. So put it down in the comments. For now, thank you.